Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Every single one of us has had moments in life where we felt the sting of criticism, the weight of doubt, or the sharpness of negativity. Maybe it came from a friend, a colleague, a stranger, or sometimes even from family. No matter who it comes from, those moments can shake us if we let them. But I want to tell you today that it is not the noise of others that determines your future. It is not their doubts or their judgments that decide who you become. It is your response. And when you know how to respond with wisdom, confidence, and grace, you don't just silence others, you rise above them. The first and most powerful response you can ever give is silence. Now, I know that sounds strange. People expect you to react, to defend, to fight back. But there is incredible strength in choosing not to. Silence is not weakness, it is control. It is the decision that not every voice deserves your attention and not every battle deserves your energy. Imagine someone throwing stones at you while you are walking toward your goal. You could stop, pick up every stone, and throw them back. But what happens? You lose time, you lose focus, and eventually you lose sight of the finish line. Silence is the act of walking forward and letting the stones fall uselessly behind you. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all because silence tells the world, I will not be shaken by your noise. But there are times when words are necessary, and when you do speak, speak with grace. One of the smartest responses you can ever give to criticism is a simple thank you. Think about it. When someone throws negativity at you, they expect a fight. They expect defensiveness. But when you respond with gratitude, you take away their power. You disarm them in an instant. Saying thank you doesn't mean you agree with their words. It means you are strong enough not to let their negativity stick to you. It means you are telling them, I hear you, but I am not moved by you. Gratitude in the face of hostility is like water on fire. It cools everything down and leaves the other person speechless. Then comes one of my personal favorites, the quiet but powerful response of confidence. When someone says you cannot, when they look you in the eye and tell you your dream is impossible, the smartest response is just two words, watch me. You don't need to explain yourself, you don't need to argue, and you don't need to convince. Because results will always speak louder than words. Too many people waste time trying to justify their vision to people who will never understand it. Don't do that. Don't argue with small minds about big dreams. Instead, smile, step back, and let your success do the talking. Confidence in action is the ultimate proof. When you rise, when you achieve, when you win, those same voices that once doubted you will fall silent. Of course, there are also times when facts must stand tall. In a world full of noise, opinions are everywhere. Everyone has something to say, but not everyone speaks truth. And in moments when your credibility is questioned or when falsehoods are thrown your way, don't fight with emotions. Don't shout louder. Stand firm on facts. The truth has a way of silencing lies faster than any argument ever could. You don't need to exaggerate. You don't need to dramatize. Just state the truth calmly and let it stand on its own. Facts are powerful because they don't demand belief. They simply are. And once they are spoken, there is nothing left for your critics to hold on to. But sometimes, the smartest response is not words or silence, not even facts. Sometimes it's as simple as a smile. Never underestimate the strength of a smile in the face of negativity. A smile communicates that you are not shaken, that your spirit is intact, that your joy is untouchable. When someone insults you and you respond with a genuine smile, you rob them of their victory. They wanted to see you angry, they wanted to see you upset, they wanted to see you broken, but instead, you smiled. That smile says, you cannot take my peace. You cannot steal my joy. It is quiet, it is graceful, and it leaves them speechless. And finally, the greatest response of all, progress. At the end of the day, nothing silences doubters, haters, and critics more effectively than growth, than results, than success. Keep moving forward, keep building, keep improving yourself, and let your achievements speak for you. Because the truth is, people can argue with your words, they can dismiss your silence, they can ignore your smile, but they cannot deny your progress. Success is the loudest response you will ever give, and it requires no explanation. Every step forward you take, every goal you reach, every dream you achieve becomes a living, undeniable answer to everyone who ever doubted you. So my friends, remember this. You don't need to outshout anyone. You don't need to lower yourself to arguments or waste your time trying to convince those who have already decided not to believe in you. The 6 smartest responses you can give: silence, gratitude, confidence, truth, a smile, and progress are enough to silence negativity and elevate you beyond it. Stand tall, respond wisely, and let your life, not your anger, not your arguments, not your explanations, but your life itself be the ultimate comeback. Because when you rise, when you achieve, and when you walk confidently in your purpose, the world has no choice but to fall silent and watch. Thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. There's a simple phrase that has the power to disarm hostility, to transform the energy in a room, and to silence criticism without you having to raise your voice or prove your worth. That phrase is thank you. Now, you might be thinking, how can 2 words be so powerful? How can something as ordinary as gratitude stand up against anger, insults, or doubt? But let me tell you, when used with calmness and confidence, those words become a shield that negativity cannot penetrate. We live in a world where everyone wants the last word. Arguments escalate because people keep stacking words on top of words, louder, harsher, more emotional. But here's the truth. You don't silence people by shouting louder. You silence them by surprising them. And there is no greater surprise to someone expecting a fight than receiving a calm, genuine thank you. Think about the last time someone criticized you, maybe unfairly, maybe with hostility. Your natural instinct was probably to defend yourself, to explain, to justify. But imagine instead of reacting, you simply said, "Thank you for sharing that." What happens? You immediately take control of the situation. You stop the cycle of anger in its tracks. You see, gratitude is not weakness. Gratitude is strength dressed in humility. It tells the other person that their words, no matter how sharp, do not control your emotions. It says, "You cannot define me, you cannot shake me, and you certainly cannot break me." When you say thank you are not bowing down, you are standing tall. Because gratitude is not about agreeing with negativity. It's about refusing to let negativity change who you are. Let me share an example. There was once a young entrepreneur presenting his idea to investors. He believed in his vision with all his heart, but halfway through his pitch, one of the investors interrupted and said, "This will never work. You don't have the experience, you don't have the resources, and frankly, I don't think you have what it takes." Imagine how crushing those words must have felt in that moment. The easy reaction would have been to argue, to defend, to beg for belief. But instead, the young man smiled and said, "Thank you. Thank you for being honest with me. Thank you for pointing out the challenges you see. I'll take that as fuel to improve." That response changed the tone of the room. The investors weren't expecting it. Instead of fighting, he showed composure. Instead of crumbling, he showed strength. And while he didn't win everyone's support that day, he earned something even more valuable: respect. That's the power of a calm thank you. It diffuses tension. It communicates maturity. And most importantly, it keeps you in control of yourself. When people insult you, they are trying to pull you into their storm. When you respond with gratitude, you pull them into your calm. Now, some of you may be thinking, but what if the criticism is harsh? What if the words truly hurt? And I say to you, that is exactly when thank you is most powerful. Because it is not about pretending the pain doesn't exist. It's about showing that the pain will not control your response. When you calmly thank someone for their harsh words, you are silently telling them, "You aimed to wound me, but instead you have made me stronger." There is also another side to this. Sometimes, hidden in criticism, there is truth. Sometimes our critics are not entirely wrong. They just deliver their words with bitterness or anger. By saying thank you, you keep yourself open to learning. You don't let pride blind you. You say, I will take what is useful and leave the rest. Gratitude allows you to rise above the delivery and still grow from the message. And that is wisdom. That is strength. Think of the greatest leaders, the strongest men and women you admire. They are not the ones who shout back at every insult. They are not the ones who collapse when faced with resistance. They are the ones who respond with dignity, who stay calm under pressure, who disarm hostility with grace. And what could be more graceful than looking your critic in the eye and saying, thank you? Now, let me be clear. Saying thank you is not about letting people walk over you. It is not about accepting abuse or tolerating disrespect. It is about choosing your battles and refusing to hand over your peace. It is about standing so firmly in your identity that no amount of criticism can uproot you. The words thank you don't silence people because they dominate them. They silence people because they confuse them. They expect anger, but they get composure. They expect argument, but they get peace. And in that moment of confusion, their power over you disappears. So the next time someone underestimates you, doubts you, or even insults you, pause for a moment. Instead of rushing to defend yourself, try saying those two words. Say them calmly. Say them with confidence. Say them like you mean them, and then move forward. Let your life, your actions, and your progress continue the conversation. Because here is the truth. People will always talk. They will always criticize. They will always doubt. And they will always find reasons to bring others down. You cannot stop the voices, but you can control your response. And when your response is gratitude, when your response is thank you, you rise above the noise. You show the world that you are untouchable, unshaken, and unstoppable. So carry those two words with you. Use them not just to silence others, but to strengthen yourself. Remember that gratitude is not just good manners. It is a weapon, a shield, and a light. It is the unexpected answer that makes negativity powerless. Thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. There are times in life when you will be told you can't. People will look you in the eye and say you're not good enough, not smart enough, not strong enough, not talented enough. They'll say your dream is unrealistic, your goals are impossible, and your vision is too big for someone like you. And in those moments, you'll feel the urge to argue, to convince, to prove them wrong with explanations. But the smartest response isn't long speeches or heated debates. The smartest response is just two simple words: watch me. Watch me is not arrogance. It is not anger. It is quiet confidence. It is the decision to let your actions speak louder than your words. You see, words can be twisted, ignored, or dismissed, but results cannot be denied. When you say, watch me, you are telling the world that you don't need approval to move forward. You don't need validation to pursue your dream. You are willing to step out, to take risks, to put in the work, and to let the outcome be your answer. Think of every great achiever in history. From inventors to athletes to leaders to artists, each of them was told at some point that their vision was impossible. The Wright brothers were told humans could never fly. Thomas Edison was told he failed too many times. Oprah Winfrey was told she wasn't fit for television. And yet, they all responded with the same spirit: watch me. They didn't spend their energy arguing with the doubters. They didn't waste their time trying to persuade the critics. They just worked, they just persisted, and they let success speak on their behalf. There is power in restraint. When you refuse to argue and instead channel all that energy into action, you accelerate your progress. Arguments rarely change minds, but success has a way of silencing the loudest critics. The teacher who told you you'd never make it, the boss who said you weren't leadership material, the friend who laughed at your dream, they all grow quiet when they see you rise. Your results become undeniable proof, and those who doubted you are left with nothing to say. But let me be clear, saying watch me isn't about proving others wrong. That may be the spark that ignites you, but it cannot be your fuel forever. If you live only to silence critics, You'll run out of energy the moment they stop talking. Watch Me is not just for them, it's for you. It is a reminder to yourself that you are capable. It is a promise to yourself that you will not back down. It is a declaration that you will not let someone else's opinion decide your future. When you whisper "watch me" to yourself, it becomes motivation. It pushes you to work harder, to rise earlier, to keep going when the path feels impossible. And when you finally achieve what others thought you couldn't, that phrase becomes not just a response, but a legacy. People remember those who stood firm in the face of doubt and proved their worth through action. Let me share a story. A young woman dreamed of being a doctor, but everyone around her doubted her. Her family said it was too expensive, her teacher said she wasn't ready, and her friends said it was too hard. At every turn, she was told to lower her ambition, to choose something easier, to play it safe. But instead of arguing, instead of crying or giving up, she smiled and said, "Watch me." She studied harder than anyone else, worked jobs to pay for her tuition, stayed up late nights when others were sleeping. Years later, she stood proudly in her white coat, a doctor who had silenced every single voice that once doubted her. Not with anger, not with arguments, with proof, with results. That is the power of Watch Me. It is both a shield and a sword. It protects you from negativity because you no longer waste energy on battles of words. And it pushes you forward because now your focus is on action. Every setback becomes fuel. Every insult becomes motivation. Every doubt becomes a challenge to rise above. So the next time someone tells you that you can't, resist the urge to argue. Resist the urge to defend yourself. Instead, look them in the eye, smile, and say, "Watch me." Then go out there and do the work. Put your head down, stay consistent, stay focused, and let your achievements tell the story. Because at the end of the day, people can question your words, but they cannot question your results. You are stronger than the opinions of others. You are bigger than the limitations placed on you. Your dream was given to you for a reason, and no one else has the power to take it away. Let your actions be your answer. Let your progress be your voice. Let your success be the silence that follows every doubt. And when the world looks back at your journey, when they remember how they once underestimated you, they won't recall the arguments you made or the speeches you gave. They'll remember that you stood tall, that you smiled, and that you said the two words that changed everything: "Watch me." Thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. In this world, voices are loud. Opinions are everywhere. Everyone has something to say about who you are, what you're doing, and whether or not you'll succeed. And in those moments when you feel surrounded by criticism and judgment, it's tempting to fight back with the same energy. It's tempting to shout louder, to let your emotions lead the way, to prove yourself with anger. But the truth is, emotions often make noise while facts make impact. Feelings rise and fall, but truth stands still. And when people come against you with doubt, negativity, or falsehood, one of the smartest responses you can ever give is to stand firm on facts. Now, let me be clear. Feelings are real. Feelings are human. But feelings alone do not silence opposition. When someone attacks your ability, your credibility, or your vision, they are not usually looking for your emotions. They are testing your foundation. And if your foundation is built only on how you feel in the moment, you'll find yourself shaken. But when your foundation is built on truth, on facts, on what is undeniable, you stand strong no matter how hard the winds blow. Think of a courtroom. A lawyer can make emotional appeals, can cry and shout and plead, but at the end of the day, what wins the case? Evidence, facts, the undeniable proof that cannot be ignored. That is how life works as well. People can argue with your opinions, they can dismiss your emotions, but they cannot deny the truth that stands solid in front of them. There's a story about a young athlete who wanted to compete at the highest level. People said he was too small, too slow, too inexperienced. They laughed at his dreams. Now, he could have argued back. He could have spent hours explaining his determination and his passion, but instead he put in the work. And when the season came, he didn't argue with words. He argued with results. He ran the fastest times. He lifted heavier weights. He broke records. The facts of his performance spoke louder than any speech he could have given. When people saw the numbers on the scoreboard, they went silent, because there is no argument against proof. That is why facts are powerful. They don't need your defense, they defend themselves. When someone questions your ability, show them the evidence of your growth. When someone doubts your discipline, let your track record of consistency speak. When someone mocks your dream, point to the progress you've already made. The numbers, the results, the truth, these things don't shout, but they silence. And let's be honest, sometimes people will try to rattle you with false accusations or harsh criticism. They want you to respond emotionally because emotions make you look unstable. But when you stay calm and present the facts, you take away their power. Imagine someone accusing you of being unprepared, and instead of getting defensive, you calmly pull out your notes, your research, your plan. Suddenly, the attack has no legs to stand on. Facts strip negativity of its foundation and leave critics with nothing to hold on to. It's important to remember, too, that facts don't always have to be external. They can be internal. The fact that you've survived every challenge you've faced so far, the fact that you've learned lessons from every failure, the fact that you've grown stronger through every setback. Sometimes the truth that silences others isn't a statistic or an achievement, but the undeniable reality that you are still here, still standing, still moving forward. No one can argue with resilience. Now, some of you may wonder, but what if I don't have the results yet? What if I'm still on the journey? That's okay. The facts you can stand on today may be smaller, but they are no less powerful. The fact that you're taking the first step, the fact that you're showing up every day, the fact that you refuse to quit. Remember, progress itself is a fact. Even if you haven't reached the destination, every step forward is proof that you're not stuck. And that proof is enough to silence anyone who says you're not moving. There's a discipline to this. It requires you to keep track of your wins, your progress, your evidence, because when the storms come, and they will come, you will need to remind yourself of the facts, not just others. Self-doubt is often louder than external critics, and it whispers the same lies. You can't do this. You're not ready. You'll never make it. But when those voices rise, look back at the truth. Look at what you've already overcome. Look at the milestones you've already hit. Facts not only silence others, they silence the doubts within. Think of it this way. Emotions are like the waves on the surface of the ocean, constantly moving, rising and falling with the winds. But facts are like the seabed, solid, unmoving, unshaken. No matter how wild the storm above, the ground below remains firm. When you root yourself in truth, you remain unshaken by the chaos around you. So the next time someone challenges you, resist the urge to meet fire with fire. Instead, stay calm, present the facts, let the truth stand in the room, unbothered, unshaken, undeniable. And once you've done that, there is nothing left to argue. The noise fades, the critics fall silent, because facts don't just speak, they end the conversation. At the end of the day, remember this. Feelings can be debated, opinions can be dismissed, but facts remain. When you build your life on truth, when you let your actions create undeniable proof, you don't need to shout to be heard. The truth itself becomes your voice, and that voice cannot be silenced. Thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Life is full of moments when people will try to shake you, unsettle you, or strip you of your confidence. Sometimes it's through criticism, sometimes through insults, and sometimes simply through their negative energy. In those moments, you have a choice. You can react with anger, with defensiveness, with hostility, or you can do something far more powerful, far more unexpected. You can smile. A smile may seem simple, almost too simple, but it carries a weight that most people underestimate. A smile is not just an expression of happiness. It is an expression of strength. It is a signal to the world that no matter what is happening around you, your spirit remains unbroken. A smile in the face of negativity is not denial of pain, it is declaration of resilience. It says, you cannot take my peace, you cannot control my emotions, I remain who I am, no matter what you bring against me. Have you ever noticed how quickly tension diffuses when someone smiles? Think of an argument about to explode, voices rising, tempers flaring, and then one person smiles calmly. The energy in the room changes instantly. Why? Because a smile is disarming. It interrupts the cycle of hostility. It surprises the other person because they expected anger, they expected resistance, they expected you to play their game. Instead, you rose above it. That is the silent power of a smile. History is full of examples of people who used this simple tool to demonstrate strength. Leaders who stood against oppression, individuals who endured ridicule, people who faced unimaginable pressure. They often chose to smile, not because their situation was easy, but because they understood the power of controlling their own response. Smiling in adversity is a form of victory, a refusal to hand over your inner calm. Let me tell you a story. A young woman once shared how she faced constant criticism at her workplace. Her colleagues doubted her, whispered behind her back, and even mocked her in meetings. At first, she wanted to fight back, to argue, to call them out, but she realized something. Arguing only gave them what they wanted, her energy, her attention, her frustration. So instead, she started responding differently. Every time she was mocked, she smiled. Not a fake smile, not a forced one, but a calm, confident smile that said, I hear you, but you cannot shake me. Over time, the same colleagues who once mocked her grew uncomfortable because their words had lost power. Her smile had silenced them, not with aggression, but with dignity. That is the beauty of a smile. It belongs completely to you. No one can force you to frown. No one can force you to give up your joy. When you choose to smile, you are claiming your control over your own emotions. And that control is intimidating to those who try to bring you down. They realize they cannot reach you, they cannot bend you, they cannot break you. Your smile becomes your armor. Now, I know what some of you are thinking, but isn't smiling in the face of insult weakness? Doesn't it make me look like I don't care? And my answer is this, a smile is not weakness when it comes from strength. Weakness is lashing out. Weakness is letting someone else dictate how you feel. Strength is maintaining composure even when others want to see you lose it. Strength is smiling, not because you are ignoring reality, but because you are refusing to let reality crush your spirit. A smile also communicates something deeper. It communicates hope. It says that no matter how dark the moment is, there is light within you. It says you still believe in yourself, you still believe in tomorrow, you still believe in the possibility of something greater. And when you carry that kind of hope, it spreads. A smile is contagious. It lifts others, even in the midst of negativity. Sometimes your smile is not just for you, it's for the people watching, the ones who draw courage from your resilience. Think of it this way. Life is a stage, and the world is watching how you respond to adversity. When you smile in tough times, you are sending a message not just to your critics, but to everyone else. This is how strength looks. This is how resilience behaves. This is how you rise above. That is inspiration. That is leadership. And let's not forget, the act of smiling does something powerful inside you as well. Psychologists tell us that even the physical act of smiling triggers positive emotions in the brain. It calms your nerves, reduces stress, and helps you think more clearly. In other words, a smile doesn't just disarm others, it empowers you. It gives you clarity in moments of chaos and peace in moments of conflict. It strengthens you while silencing negativity. So the next time someone tries to shake you, don't give them the satisfaction of anger. Don't hand over your joy so easily. Smile. Smile calmly. Smile confidently. Smile as a declaration that you are still in control, that your peace is still intact, and that their negativity has no power over you. Because here's the truth, people can argue with your words, they can challenge your ideas, they can attack your reputation, but they cannot fight your smile. It confuses them, frustrates them, and eventually silences them. A smile says more than anger ever could. It says, I have already won because I refuse to lose myself. Ladies and gentlemen, never underestimate the quiet strength of a smile. It is not just an expression. It is a weapon, a shield, a signal of resilience. It is your way of saying to the world, I am untouchable. I am unshaken. And no matter what you throw at me, my joy, my peace, and my spirit remain mine. Thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. There comes a time in life when words are no longer enough. Arguments reach their limits. Explanations lose their impact. Defenses sound repetitive. And in those moments when people still doubt you, still criticize you, still dismiss you, there is only one response powerful enough to silence everything: progress. Progress doesn't need a microphone. Progress doesn't need permission. Progress doesn't need applause. Progress simply moves forward step by step, day by day, until the noise of the critics is drowned out by the sound of achievement. The beauty of progress is that it cannot be argued with. You can debate opinions, you can dismiss feelings, you can challenge ideas, but you cannot deny progress when it stands before you. Think about it. When someone says you cannot, what is the greatest answer? Not a long explanation, not a heated debate, not even a clever comeback. The greatest answer is action. The greatest answer is to keep moving forward despite the doubts. Progress is the final word because it leaves no room for response. When you grow, when you achieve, when you succeed, critics are left with nothing to hold on to. Their words evaporate in the shadow of your results. But progress is not always loud. It does not always look like grand victories or big announcements. Sometimes progress is small. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's simply choosing to get up one more day and try again. Sometimes it's the unseen discipline, the uncelebrated effort, the unnoticed growth. And yet, even in its smallest form, progress is undeniable because every step forward, no matter how small, is proof. Proof that you are not stuck. Proof that you are not broken. Proof that you are moving, learning, and becoming stronger. There's a saying that success is the best revenge, but I want to take it a step further. Progress is not just revenge, it is redemption. It redeems every failure, every insult, every setback, every doubt. Progress transforms you can't into you did. It turns every impossible into inevitable. And it does this without shouting, without fighting, without explaining. It simply shows up as the undeniable reality of your effort. Let me tell you a story. A man once dreamed of becoming a writer. He poured his heart into his first book, but when he sent it out to publishers, rejection after rejection came back. Some said his writing wasn't good enough. Others said his story wasn't marketable, and many didn't even respond at all. The easy path would have been to quit, to accept the voices that said you'll never make it, but instead he chose progress. He kept writing, he kept refining, he kept submitting. One book turned into two turned into three, years passed, and then one day, one of those books became a bestseller. Suddenly, the same world that had once rejected him was applauding him. Did he silence them with arguments? No. He silenced them with progress. He silenced them with persistence. He silenced them by refusing to stop moving forward. That is why progress is so powerful. It is the long game. Words may win moments, but progress wins lifetimes. You don't have to prove yourself in one conversation, one debate, or one argument. You prove yourself through consistency, through growth, through perseverance. Over time, even the loudest critic runs out of things to say in the face of undeniable achievement. But progress is not just about silencing others. It's also about silencing the doubt within yourself. Let's be honest, sometimes the loudest voice against us is not out there. It's in here. It's the inner critic that whispers, you're not enough. You'll never make it. Why even try? And when those thoughts come, the best way to answer them is not with self-pity or self-argument. It's with progress. Take one step forward. Do one small thing better than yesterday. Create evidence that your inner critic cannot argue with. Because when you can look back and see how far you've come, even if it's not where you want to be yet, you silence that voice of doubt. You remind yourself that you are not failing, you are growing. And here's the beautiful thing about progress, it compounds. Small steps become big strides. Tiny victories build momentum. What once looked impossible begins to look inevitable. And before long, people who once laughed at your dream are left watching in awe as you live it. They may not admit they were wrong, they may never apologize, but their silence will tell you everything. Progress has spoken, and it has said the final word. So the next time someone doubts you, the next time someone mocks your ambition, don't waste your energy in arguments. Don't exhaust yourself trying to explain your vision to those who are determined not to see it. Instead, just keep moving forward. Keep working, keep building, keep growing. Let your progress be your response, because nothing speaks louder, nothing silences deeper, and nothing lasts longer than proof. Remember this, progress doesn't need to be perfect to be powerful. You don't need to be at the finish line to prove yourself. You just need to keep moving, to keep growing, to keep becoming. Over time, progress will turn every doubt into disbelief, every critic into a bystander, and every no into a story of perseverance. At the end of the day, you don't need to argue. You don't need to shout. You don't even need to respond with words. Your life, your journey, your growth, that will be the ultimate answer. That will be the final word. Because progress in all its quiet strength silences everything. Thank you.